The Arizona desert had a silence of its own, vast, baked by the sun, wrapped in a quiet that only old lands could hold. Rancher Luke Harrison had lived his whole life on this stretch of red earth, tending cattle and caring for the land his grandfather once tamed. Most days were simple: feed the horses, check the water lines, repair fences. Luke liked the rhythm. It grounded him. It reminded him of the stories his grandfather once told him, stories about coexistence, about respecting the land and the people who walked it long before fences existed. One late afternoon, as the horizon burned orange and purple, Luke took his truck along the southern boundary of the ranch. A windstorm had passed that morning, and he needed to confirm the fence hadn't collapsed again. Driving slowly over the uneven dirt, he spotted something unusual, a faint trail of dust rising from behind the mesquite trees. At first, he thought it might be a stray bull or a lost hiker. But as he drew closer, he saw a battered old truck, tilted slightly on a flat tire. Beside it stood a man, tall and steady, wearing traditional Apache ornaments around his neck. Nearby, a woman held a young boy close, shielding him from the desert wind. Luke stepped out of his truck, hands visible, calm but cautious. "You folks need help," he called out. The man nodded respectfully. "Our tire blew out. Spare's no good. We're far from home." Luke noticed something in their eyes: exhaustion, worry, maybe even a bit of fear. The desert could be unforgiving, especially with a child. "My ranch is 5 miles out," Luke said. "I've got tools, food, water. You're welcome to rest there till we fix this." The man hesitated. Trust didn't come easy in lands shaped by history, conflict, and wounds passed down through generations. Finally, he stepped forward. "My name is Nowlin," he said. "This is my wife, Atsa, and my son." Luke nodded. Luke Harrison. Atsa exchanged a quick glance with her husband, an unspoken conversation, and then she gave Luke a small, relieved smile. Luke helped them into his truck, making sure the boy had water. As they drove toward the ranch, Nowlin studied Luke quietly. "Not many would stop," Nowlin finally said. "My grandfather taught me better than to leave anyone stranded in the desert," Luke replied. When they reached the ranch, Luke gave them a guest room in the small bunkhouse used during cattle seasons. He brought them food, blankets, even a toy wooden horse for the boy. The child's eyes lit up as if he'd been handed the world. Nowlin stood in the doorway, humbled. "You've shown us kindness we did not expect." Luke shrugged lightly. "Just doing what's right." He didn't know, not yet, that this moment, this simple act of offering shelter, was a spark. And before the next sunrise, that spark would bring something far greater than he could have imagined. Because at dawn, the desert would awaken, and with it, an entire Apache tribe would arrive. Luke Harrison woke before sunrise, stirred by a sound he didn't recognize, soft, rhythmic, like distant drums carried on the wind. The desert usually slept deeply at this hour. Even the cattle remained still until the first light touched the horizon. But today, something felt different. The air itself seemed to hum. He stepped outside, boots crunching over the cool dirt. The sky was still dark, just a hint of blue melting into the east. Then he heard it again, drums, steady and low, joined by faint chanting that seemed to rise and fall with the wind. Luke narrowed his eyes toward the southern ridge. At first, he thought it was a mirage, shapes moving in the distance. But the shapes grew clearer with each passing second. Dozens of riders, horses moving in single file. Men wearing traditional clothing, women draped in woven blankets, children riding with quiet pride. The early light outlined them like silhouettes in a living painting. Luke's breath caught. "Nowlin," he whispered. He turned toward the bunkhouse and found Nowlin already standing outside, his posture calm, his eyes fixed on the approaching figures. He looked neither surprised nor alarmed, only solemn, as if he had been expecting this moment. "Your people?" Luke asked. Nowlin nodded slowly. "Yes. I didn't think you called them." "I didn't," Nowlin replied. "But word travels fast among us. When an Apache family is offered protection on another man's land, our tribe will come to honor that gesture." Luke felt a wave of confusion mixed with awe. He had simply helped a family in need. He had not expected an entire tribe to appear at dawn like a living river of history. The riders approached the ranch yard, stopping with quiet precision. There were at least 40 of them, elders, warriors, mothers with children. No one shouted. No one rushed. Their presence was peaceful but powerful, like the desert itself. An older man dismounted and stepped forward. His face was lined with age, his eyes deep with wisdom. His long gray braids fell over a beautifully beaded vest. Nowlin bowed his head slightly. "This is Elder Kachata, keeper of our traditions." The elder turned to Luke. His voice was steady, carrying the weight of generations. "You opened your land to Nowlin's family," he said. "Such acts are rare today. We have come to acknowledge your respect." Luke felt strangely small standing in front of so many people who carried centuries of culture behind them. He rubbed his palms on his jeans, suddenly unsure of what to say. "I just helped folks who needed it," he murmured. Kachata raised a hand. "In our way, nothing is just kindness. Every act carries spirit." The tribe formed a wide circle around the ranch yard. Drums began again, soft, tranquil, blending with the morning breeze. Women hummed a melodic chant. Elders sprinkled blessed sage into the air. Luke felt his throat tighten. He wasn't in danger. He wasn't being judged. He was being honored. Nowlin placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is our way of showing you that you did more than help us. You respected us, and that respect will never be forgotten." As the sun finally crested over the desert, painting the ranch in gold, Luke understood something profound. He hadn't just assisted a family. He'd unknowingly opened the door to an ancient bond, one that would reshape everything he believed about the land, the past, and the people who walked it. The sun rose slowly, casting warm gold across the desert, and with every inch of light, Luke felt the weight of the moment settling deeper into him. The entire Apache tribe remained in a calm circle, their presence transforming the simple ranch yard into something sacred, something alive with history. Elder Kachata motioned toward a spot near the center of the circle. "Luke Harrison," he said, "come sit with us." Luke hesitated. He wasn't sure what was appropriate. This was their sacred tradition, their ceremony. But Nowlin nodded encouragingly. "You are welcome here," he whispered. "This moment is yours as much as ours." Luke stepped forward, feeling the soft dust under his boots. As he sat down, the drums softened to a gentler rhythm. Several elders moved closer, carrying small bowls filled with sage, cedar, and desert herbs. Atsa, Nowlin's wife, stood near them, holding her son close. Her eyes carried a gratitude Luke had only glimpsed in passing. Elder Kachata took a pinch of the herbs and placed it onto a small clay dish. Smoke began to rise, thin, fragrant, swirling upward into the desert air. The women chanted softly, the sound blending with the rustling of the morning breeze. "This," Kachata began, "is a ceremony of trust and recognition. You opened your doors in a world that often closes them to us. For this, we honor you, not as a stranger, but as a friend." Luke swallowed, emotion tightening his chest. "I didn't expect anything like this," he said quietly. Kachata smiled. "True kindness never expects reward." Another elder, a woman with silver hair braided down her back, stepped forward. In her hands was a small wooden carving, a beautifully crafted hawk, wings spread as if ready for flight. "This is for you," she said. "The hawk of vigilance. It symbolizes protection, clarity, and loyalty. When a hawk watches over land, it sees danger before it comes. This is our gift to you for watching over one of our families." Luke held the carving carefully, as if it were fragile. The wood felt warm from the elder's hands. He couldn't bring himself to speak yet, the gesture reached deeper than simple gratitude. The chanting grew stronger, lifting in waves. Children sat together, watching the ceremony with wide, reverent eyes. Warriors stood quietly in the background, their expressions respectful. For a moment, the world felt like two timelines meeting, ancient tradition merging with the present, all centered on one simple rancher who had offered kindness without hesitation. Nowlin sat beside Luke. "Our people remember those who stand with us," he said softly. "Today is not just ceremony. It is a promise. Your land, your home, they now hold our respect." Luke felt an unexpected warmth spreading through him. He had lived his life believing he understood the land, its seasons, its hardships, its quiet beauty. But today he realized there was a deeper spirit to it, one he had never been taught but was now witnessing firsthand. As the ceremony ended, the tribe touched the ground in unison, a gesture of unity and acknowledgement. Luke followed their motion, placing his hand on the earth. The soil felt warm, alive, connected. In that moment, he understood. This wasn't just a ceremony. It was an invitation into a bond that few outsiders ever received. The ceremony slowly faded into a peaceful stillness. The drums quieted, the chanting softened, and the last threads of sage smoke dissolved into the warming morning air. For a long moment, Luke simply sat there, his hand resting on the earth, the carved hawk pressed gently against his chest. He had never felt anything quite like this, an overwhelming sense of belonging in a moment he never asked for, but deeply needed. One by one, members of the tribe approached him. Some offered a respectful nod, others touched a hand to their heart. Even the children smiled shyly, waving before hiding behind their mothers. Luke returned each acknowledgement with humble gratitude. These were gestures of trust that took generations to build, sometimes generations to heal. Elder Kachata spoke again. "Our visit today is not farewell," he said. "It is the beginning of a bond. You have chosen respect over fear. Compassion over indifference. That choice echoes beyond you, beyond us." Luke nodded, still holding the hawk carving. "I never thought helping one family would lead to something like this," he admitted. "That is the nature of true kindness," Kachata replied. "It grows roots deeper than any tree." As preparations began for the tribe's departure, Nolan remained by Luke's side. His son played with the ranch dog near the water trough, laughing freely in a way he hadn't since the flat tire stranded them. Atsa helped the elders pack ceremonial items with calm reverence. Nolan turned to Luke. "The family will never forget what you did," he said. "But I want you to understand something more. When one Apache family finds safety, our entire people feel it. That is why they came." Luke smiled. "I'm glad I could help. Honestly, it just felt right." Nolan placed his hand over Luke's in a firm, grounding gesture. "You've earned our respect," he said. "And our loyalty. Whatever comes to your land, whatever trouble you face, my people will stand with you." The words hit Luke with unexpected force. In a world filled with uncertainty, where neighbors sometimes wouldn't even share a fence line peacefully, the promise of a tribe's unity felt like a gift beyond measure. As the riders mounted their horses, the sun rose fully, bathing the desert in bright gold. The tribe set off in graceful formation, their silhouettes stretching long across the earth. Dust rose behind them like a soft trail of history returning to the hills. But Nolan stayed. His family remained, not as guests, not as outsiders, but as friends who had found a place where they were welcomed. Luke looked around his ranch, feeling a difference that was almost spiritual. The land felt warmer, fuller, somehow protected. The hawk carving seemed to glow in the sunlight. He realized then that the desert had witnessed something rare, a bridge built between worlds once divided. And that bridge was now part of his land, his life, his legacy. As Nolan's young son ran toward him, holding out the wooden horse Luke had given him, Luke smiled. The ranch didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt alive, with unity, honor, and a new beginning.